Bonsoir à tous. My name is Jessica. I am the head class deputy of the Students' Committee 2021, Alliance Française de Kandy, and I will be the MC for the evening. First of all, I would like to wish you all a happy Bastille Day. The Students' Committee 2021 of the Alliance Française de Kandy is very happy to celebrate the Bastille Day 2021 with informative and fun segments. Thank you for joining us this evening. Before we begin the event, I would like to request all to stand up for the national anthem of France.
ඔය අපේ රට යන වෙන ඉන්නේ
dia. Ini Pak. Tuh ya.
Thank you. Please be seated. I would like to welcome the Vice President of the Students' Committee 2021, Ms. Utpala, to deliver the welcome speech.
Bonsoir à tous. I'm Utpala, the Vice President of the Student Committee 2021 of Alliance Française de Kandy, and I warmly welcome you all to our online Bastille Day celebrations 2021 on behalf of the Student Committee of Alliance Française de Kandy. First and foremost, I would like to give a warm welcome to the Director of Alliance Française de Kandy, Mrs. Sarah Tukas. It is an honor to have you with us today, Madam. And also, I would like to introduce and welcome a special guest, Ms. Soline Lebacon, the representative of Campus France in Sri Lanka. She will be joining us today to celebrate Bastille Day this year with us and also to do a very informative presentation on Campus France, which our students who wish to study in France might find useful. I would also like to invite the Executive Committee members, staff, and teachers of Alliance Française de Kandy to celebrate the Bastille Day 2021 with us. I would like to welcome Mrs. Puranika, French teacher, Ms. Shamara, course coordinator, and Mr. Suketa, French teacher from Alliance Française de Kandy. They will be participating in our special interview session to give insights into what Bastille Day means for France and how it is celebrated there. And last but not least, I would like to extend my warm welcome to all participants to celebrate the Bastille Day 2021 with us. Again, I welcome you all to Bastille Day celebrations 2021 and hope that all of you will enjoy the events that we have organized for you this evening. Without any delay, let's commence. Thank you.
Thank you, Utpala. Now I would like to invite the Secretary of the Students' Committee 2021, Mr. Vendan, to address the event.
Thank you, Ms. Jessie. Liberté, fraternité, égalité. In English, liberty, fraternity, equality. This has been the national motto of the most symbolical and romantic country in the world, which is France. So where did this slogan actually originate? This slogan has been used in several revolutions around the world. If we look at the origin of it, it leads to this Bastille Day. Today, we will give you a tour about what Bastille Day and how it's celebrated and why it's celebrated. Usually in student committee of Alliance Française of Kandy, we celebrate this in a grandeur manner. We usually go to a hotel or book a hotel, and we usually have like a party. There will be karaoke, there will be DJ, and even one year we actually had it with the FIFA World Cup, where the France actually won. So with all those memories, but in this case, we are kind of controlled by the COVID pandemic situation. So we are here to present you this in the online platform. So I hope you all will enjoy it. And over to you, MC of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendan. Now I would like to welcome a special guest, Ms. Soling Lebakong, the representative of Campus France in Sri Lanka, to talk about Campus France.
Thank you and bonjour à toutes et à tous. So thank you very much to the committee, to Sarah for the very kind invitation to be a part of this Bastille Day celebration. I'm very happy to be here with you this afternoon to present you Campus France. I just want, before starting, just sharing my screen and just make sure that you can see what I'm about to present. So just here. Okay, can you
C'est bon.
can you confirm that you can see my screen? Thank you.
Yes, yes.
So Campus France, what is Campus France if you wish to pursue your studies in France? First of all, do not hesitate to ask all your questions in the chat. We can have but please do feel free to write any comments or questions in the chat and we can discuss about it after. And also at the end, I will information and links that can be useful for you if you wish to go studying in France. So first of all, Campus France. Campus France is very important. It is the only French agency here in Sri Lanka that is for the promotion of French higher education. We are under the co-supervision of the French Ministry of Europe and Foreign Affairs and the French Ministry of Higher Education. So we are really here to help Sri Lankan students who wish to go to study in France, and we will give you all information. We will really help and guide you through the process. For that, we offer orientation sessions, we offer workshops. Really, we try to make a lot of events and make ourselves available to you to have the possibility to get the right information to help you with your project. So it is very important for Campus France that I want to say to you that it is the only agency here in Sri Lanka that is recognized by the Embassy of France. I know that there has been a lot of international agents in Sri Lanka. Just please keep in mind that all our services are entirely free, and the process to go study in France is easy and free. So for example, you do not need, and this is, I really insist on this first, you do not need to have an intermediate agent, which will have very expensive fees to go to France. If you have any question, please come for us because we are recognized and we are specialists trained to help you for this project. So international student mobility, I want to highlight the fact that France has been and is still a very attractive destination for foreign students. Here we can see, that before, of course, before the situation we all know that is being affected by COVID, France was among the top 5 host country for international students. We were actually number 4, right after the USA, UK, and Australia. So what is very interesting is to see that it is the first non-English speaking country that will be attracted to, that will attract international students. So why do we encourage students to learn French? I am sure you all have a reason to be learning French at the Alliance Française, and it's actually a great school which will have which does have very quality classes and is also labeled and recognized by our government. So we do encourage you to keep on trying, keep on learning French, because French is the second most widely learned and taught language worldwide. It is the only language with English that is spoken on all 5 continents. And speaking French is not only being able to go to France and talk French. You can have a discussion with people in 32 states and governments in which French is an official language. So it's really an important tool if you wish to study abroad, if you wish to work abroad. You can go in France, but you can go in so many other places in the world. You are, by learning French in the Alliance Française in Kandy, you are part of the 132 million learners in the world, and then you are also among the 300 million francophones. So what is very important is that the French higher education is responsive to every need. We have a network of 3,500 public and private institutions in the whole country. And for Sri Lanka, what is very important to note is that the A-level would be mandatory to enter the French higher education system. We have in France what we call baccalaureate, and the A-level is equivalent. Also, if you have any question, if you have any doubt about the recognition and the label of the degree you are interested in or in the school you wish to do your study, please do come and talk to us, and we will help you to find the right institution, whether it's private or public, which would be responsive to your need and to your project. France is a country of research and innovation. It's very important to know that the government do invest a lot in research and innovation, and there is a lot of programs as well if you are interested in those fields. The tuition fees to go studying in France are among the most accessible in the world. We are very, very far from the $30,000 to go studying in Australia, to go studying in UK or in Canada and America. Our fees are sponsored by the government. So the government will pay a share of your tuition fees for every student, and even for international student, which makes that, for example, studying in a university will cost you 2,000 to 3,000 euros. And to go to a private school, it will cost you between 4,000 to 10,000. So that would be 3 times cheaper than other top English speaking countries. And I think it's a great opportunity to have a great, a very good quality of program in France. You're learning French in the Alliance Française, but you think, okay, maybe I don't want to study. I don't want to study French, or my level in French is not good enough to go studying in France. Do not worry. We really give you the opportunity to come with friends by studying in English in France. For that, we did create more than 1,600 at the moment programs that are 100% taught in English. So even if you speak French, and I think it is very essential to still be learning French, because your program can be 100% taught in English, but then you will go outside, have a drink with your friend, or you want to buy bread and cheese, and you can imagine that the baker, for example, does not speak English. So having French, even if your program is in English, is for me essential, and I do encourage every student to learn some French. Regarding the language proficiency and requirement, do note that the IELTS is not mandatory to go to France. Every program will have their own requirement. So maybe some programs in English will have French classes including in the program. Sometimes some will ask you to have a certain level of French. Sometimes they don't ask any level of French at all. And same for English. So there is no standards about languages tests to apply to go to France for a program. It really depends on every program. And I think that's very important to mention that. If you wish also, due to the pandemic, we gave you the opportunity to have some online programs in English. At the moment, there is 240 programs that are taught in English, which are online. So you can find all those programs in our Campus France website. For us, international students are very important. So we do support you by offering you great benefits from studying in France. We have a lot of short-term programs also in an impressive range of fields. We do let you carry out internships. So really, it will give you the opportunity to gain professional experience in France. And then if you wish to pursue in France, you will have that experience. You can take this experience back in Sri Lanka. But we do have this opportunity, which I think it's a very, very good benefit for your future career. We saw in the video of the national anthem that there is a great culture in France, and we do allow you also, the cost of living in France is among the lowest in Europe. So everything cultural, you can really enjoy them, and it's really not a good, like, we know how studying is costly, but in France, the cost of life will really let you enjoy everything that France has to offer. And also, I want to make a very quick point here about scholarships, because I know that it's a question that is very often talked about. We do not, the Embassy of France at the moment does not have scholarships for students, but there is a lot of opportunities through the Erasmus Plus Mundus program, through the ETHL Excellence Scholarship Program, and also on the website of Campus France Sri Lanka, which I will present you later. You can find scholarships that are available for Sri Lankan students.
Okay, so wow,
And I looked earlier at scholarships available for you. Also, we do operation in their field. Some companies, some French companies are even here in Sri Lanka. So if you study in France, you can come back in Sri Lanka and work for a French company here in Sri Lanka. And also as a student, you have the possibility to work up to 20 hours a week to support your daily costs. And also, if you wish to stay and find a job in France after your study, we can extend your visa for 1 year to let you have the time to find a job in France. During this pandemic as well, you do have to keep in mind that there is some specific regulation for you to go to France at the moment. I will give you this information in the chat. And then the visa guidance. I know it's also something that is very important for students. The visa guidance, the visa process is very, very easy. That is why we do insist on the fact that you don't need an intermediate agent to go through the process, because it's very easy. What you have to do is to choose your program. You can have, you can let Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, sorry,
yes,
I think I had
Yes, yes.
an issue with internet. So yeah, I was saying that the VFS application process is now entirely online, so it's even easier. It's the easiest process to go through the visa. And the only thing also that you need to know at this is that we will look that you have enough funds to go to France. So the limit is 615 euros per month. So if you go to France for a year, we will look into your file, and you need to prove that you have 615 euros times 12 to be able to support your expenses. So if you are interested in studying in France and you want more information, there is a lot of things you can do. You can first the website Campus France in Sri Lanka. So it's all brand new. It's very easy to go through. We also have a Facebook page that you can visit, and we do put on the page multiple application scholarships. There is a lot of information that I think are very interesting through the page. So at the moment, we do offer free individual guidance session in Zoom. So if you really want a time just with us, with a Campus France officer, to go through all your questions, to help you find the program, we can do that just by sending an email to register. We would be happy to do. And also, so you can contact the Espace Campus France in Sri Lanka, which is in Colombo. So with this address that we put in the chat. So this is really the address to talk with us here in Sri Lanka. The officers are in Colombo, but you can also talk to someone in Kandy that will be very happy to help you through the process, as we are also developing our activity in the Alliance Française in Kandy. So I think that's everything for me. Sorry, it's really always trying to keep a tight schedule. So if you do have questions, do not hesitate to let me know. And on the other hand, I can just give you all information in the chat, and do not hesitate to contact us later if you prefer. So thank you for your attention, and I leave the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Soling, for the wonderful presentation. We are right on time, and I thought that some of you might want to take the opportunity to ask some questions from Ms. Soling. So we will now move on to a little Q&A session. Please feel free to ask questions or post them in the chat box, and Ms. Soling will be happy to answer them.
I will put every information in the chat box in the meantime. So if you do have a question, just feel free. Otherwise, I just put every detail in the chat box at the moment. Okay, so I saw a question, so I will just answer it right now. So are there any requirements to be eligible for the scholarships? Of course, yeah, there is always requirements, but there is no, just as the language requirement to apply for a program, there is no standard for a scholarship. Every scholarship is very specific. So I cannot tell you, yes, for scholarship you will have to you will have to do this, or you will have to be like this, or apply for this kind of program. It will really depend on the scholarship. What is very interesting is also do look, if you are looking, for example, I know programs in sciences, there is a lot of scholarships in sciences at the moment. Or if you are interested in the field, do go through the institution websites, because sometimes the own institutions have scholarships specific for international students, which is open to any nationalities. So there is scholarship for Sri Lankan students, and there is scholarship of the institution for international students that you can be eligible as well for.
Is there any other questions? There is a question.
Yeah, so I can see the question of what are the universities that offer science as core subject. For that, I will just show you, if you want, I can show you the tool of Campus France to get the program you're looking for. So for example, I just share my screen because I don't want to do some individual session at the moment, but I can show you how it will go for you to find for science in a university. So you would go for what program are you looking for, and then you can look for a program taught in English. You can go for a license degree or a master degree or a PhD. So for example, if you're looking for a bachelor or license degree in science, you will find this tool. All the Campus France tools are very, very I think very easy to use. So for example, here, if you look for chemistry or biology, physics, which are, okay, I can also go for them. If you're looking for example, for science, so if you're interested in nuclear physics, you will see that there is all those programs. So this is really the kind of process I invite you to do. So through the Campus France website, if you're looking at what program are you looking for, you will be able to find your own program. So I think you can go through the program you've been promoting for this day, and I will stay available for any question in the chat in the meantime. So thank you everyone for your attention, and a happy Bastille Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Soline, for this very informative talk about Campus France, and it was a great pleasure having you with us this evening. Now I would like to invite the Second Secretary of the Students' Committee 2021, Ms. Malini, and the Class Deputy of Students' Committee, Ms. Amaya, to begin the celebration with a fun trivia game.
Good evening, guys. I'm Malini, the Second Secretary of Student Committee 2021.
I'm Amaya, Class Deputy of Students Committee 2021 of Alliance Française de Kandy. Now, we will be playing a small video regarding the French Revolution. Watch it attentively. After this video, we will be doing a game which are questions based on this video. Now, the video will be played.
Much of Europe's civil strife of the 19th and 20th centuries can be traced back to one point in the late 18th century. Everything from major reforms of the British government to the Cold War itself all have a common link, and were birthed from a defining moment in French, European, and eventually even world history, the French Revolution. In the late 1700s, the French people got sick of the nobles and rich people having all the power and revolted, then chopped off a bunch of heads. The end. If you enjoyed this episode of the Infographic Show, don't forget to like, share, and okay, fine. If you really insist, we'll dive a bit deeper into one of the most important moments in human history. The 18th century had been a tumultuous one for Europe's major powers. France and Britain had once more resumed their favorite hobby, killing each other as frequently and as violently as possible as they clashed for power across the world stage. When the King of Spain died in 1700, he left no obvious heir to the throne, leading to a conflict that dragged in both France and Britain and threatened to completely upend the balance of power across Europe. Then 40 years later, the two countries were at it again, being pulled into the War of Austrian Succession, when Archduchess Maria Theresa was denied the Austrian throne because in those days women were good for looking at and not much else, certainly not ruling. France and Britain would continue the conflict even after Maria Theresa took the throne, with their colonies fighting overseas and leading to the defeat of French forces in India in 1763. In 1778, the fledgling United States decided that unlike every other British colony, it wasn't having any more of this taxation without representation nonsense, and very rudely declared a war of independence. France, seeing an opportunity to really stick it to Britain, immediately backed the rebels, who would have been utterly crushed without their help, a fact many Americans have forgotten. All these wars left France in pretty dire financial shape, and it wasn't helped that King Louis XVI decided that amidst 2 decades of poor harvests and droughts, he'd go ahead and spend money like it was going out of style. As bread prices climbed and the nation realized it was in very serious financial trouble, the king responded by increasing taxes, and the peasantry saw very little relief from an increasingly desperate domestic situation, with most of that revenue going to pay off debts or funding the very expensive hobby of killing the British. With no other option left to them, the peasants began rioting and looting, staging labor strikes and refusing to work until the king did something about the worsening situation. You know things are bad when governments start thinking about actually taxing rich people, and in 1786, Louis XVI's Controller General, Charles Alexandre de Calonne, created a financial reform package that would include a universal land tax, which would not exempt the upper classes from paying, as had historically been done. The proposal that rich people pay their fair share during a time of financial crisis went over about as well as you'd expect, and the aristocratic classes immediately began talking about their own revolt. In a bid to garner support for this desperately needed tax, the king summoned the Estates General, an assembly of France's clergy, nobility, and middle classes. The peasants weren't invited because they were probably too busy farming cow dung or whatever peasants do. The Estates General hadn't been called since 1614, and in the nearly 200 years since, the demographics of the assembly had dramatically changed. Whereas the aristocrats once made up the bulk of the membership, now the non-aristocratic members made up a whopping 98% of the assembly. Yet they could still be overruled by the 2% of clergy and nobility. Shockingly, the middle class had a slight problem with this arrangement, and so they immediately began to campaign for equal representation and a complete abolishment of the noble veto, which gave the aristocrats the right to completely undo the middle class's vote. All three groups agreed on the need for fiscal and judicial reform that included a more representative form of government. But the nobles were unsurprisingly not willing to give up all the rights and privileges that they enjoyed up until now. By the time the assembly had gathered, Hostilities between the three estates had erupted into near violence between the different members. The middle class, known as the Third Estate, met alone and declared themselves the National Assembly. They met in an indoor tennis court and took what would become known as the Tennis Court Oath, under which they vowed that they would not disperse until constitutional reform had been achieved. Wisely discerning which way the wind was blowing and seeing what had happened to the British at the hands of the American rebels, most of the clergy and 47 nobles joined the new National Assembly, and a begrudging King Louis XVI disbanded the Estates General and absorbed its members into the new National Assembly. Unsurprisingly, many nobles did not take this new development well at all, and King Louis XVI moved several army regiments into Paris and the surrounding countryside. Parisians feared that the king was preparing to crush the newly formed National Assembly. On July 11, 1789, the king dismissed Jacques Necker, his only non-noble minister who was popular with the people due to his advocacy for national reform. Parisians saw this as further proof that the king was going to crush their attempt at a more representative government and rioted, seizing 32,000 muskets and cannons from a military hospital and turning their sights on the Bastille and its gunpowder stores. Surrounded by angry rioters, Bernard-René Delaunay, governor of the Bastille, invited delegates from the revolutionary force to negotiate a surrender. Promising not to open fire, he greeted the men warmly as they sat to discuss terms. Yet, when the talks dragged on, the people outside grew restless and became convinced that their delegates had been imprisoned inside the infamous fort. A group of them climbed an outer wall and lowered a drawbridge, letting the horde inside the courtyard. But when they attempted to lower a second drawbridge, Delaunay ordered his soldiers to shoot, killing 100 civilians. Later, a troop of French guards, loyal to the Parisian people, laid siege to the fort with their heavy cannons, and Delaunay was forced to surrender. The former governor was marched down to City Hall and murdered, and his corpse was decapitated. His head would not be the last to roll. With their victory in Paris, revolutionary fervor swept across the nation and peasants began an open revolt. After decades of exploitation, the peasants looted and burned the homes of tax collectors, landlords, and the elite, triggering an exodus of the nobility from France. Known as the Great Fear, the revolution would go on to inspire the National Assembly to formally abolish feudalism on August 4, 1789. Known as the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, this bold proclamation did away with the old system of exploitation by the nobility and called for a system based on equal opportunity for all, freedom of speech, popular sovereignty, and representative government. Struggling to balance the power of the king with that of the people, the Constitution would go on to adopt a constitutional monarchy, which allowed the king to have royal veto power and to appoint ministers. This did not sit well with many of the most influential revolutionary leaders, who desired a constitution akin to that of the United States. There should be no king, they argued, and France should be a grand republic. They also demanded that Louis XVI be put on trial for his many crimes against his people. In April of 1792, the newly elected Legislative Assembly, its members voted into power by the people, declared war on Austria and Prussia, whom they believed were harboring counter-revolutionary French nobility, and in the hope that a defeat of these two major powers would further spread their revolution, exporting more democratic ideals across Europe. On August 10th, King Louis XVI was arrested by a group of radical revolutionaries who demanded that the king be put on trial immediately, both for his past crimes against the nation and for harboring secret desires to crush their new democratic legislative assembly. In September, a wave of violence swept across the nation, with the massacring of counter-revolutionaries who wanted a return to monarchic power. The Legislative Assembly was disbanded and replaced by a new national convention, which immediately declared the abolition of the monarchy and the birth of the French Republic. On January 21, 1793, King Louis XVI was sentenced to death for high treason and crimes against the state. He was sent to the infamous guillotine, and 9 months later, his wife, Marie Antoinette, would face the same fate. Interestingly, she never actually said the line most famously attributed to her. The myth goes that when told that the peasants were starving and had no bread to eat, the flippant and out-of-touch Marie Antoinette simply responded with, "Well then, let them eat cake." A myth is all it is, though. France's revolutionary zeal would soon go out of control, though, with a bloody reign of terror that lasted 10 months and saw thousands of suspected enemies of the revolution lose their heads. This reign of terror would itself lead to another revolution by the French people known as the Thermidorian reaction. With a severely weakened national convention and the French people pretty sick of the politicians' crap, it was decided that executive power would lie with a 5-member directory, which would be appointed by Parliament. Many protested this new regime, which were swiftly put down by the French military, now led by a very successful general. You may have heard of him, Napoleon Bonaparte? From here on out, everything worked out just fine, and there were no major problems in Europe ever again. Just kidding. The Directory proved to be a huge disaster, which relied on military force to maintain rule and paved the way for Napoleon Bonaparte to overthrow them and declare himself emperor. Then he immediately plunged the entire European continent into several wars that nearly cost France its independence. Why do you think the French had so much trouble figuring out how to make democracy work? Let us
You will be given 2 answers for each question, and what you guys have to do is tell us the right answer, and we will give you 30 seconds to give the answer. Now let's begin the game.
First question. Who clashed violently for power across the world stage?
The correct answer is France and Britain.
Second question. When did the King of Spain die?
Yes, your answer is right. The answer is in 1700.
Third question. Who was denied to the Austrian throne?
The answer is Alcaldes Maria Teresa.
Fourth question. Which country declared the War of Independence?
The answer is United States.
Fifth question. Who was the Controller General of King Louis XVI?
The answer is Charles Alexander the Calon.
Sixth question. Who ordered to kill 100 civilians?
The answer is Bernard René de Lune.
Seventh question. Name the 3 Estates General.
The answers are clergy, nobility, and the middle class.
Eighth question. Who is known as the Third Estate?
The answer is the middle class.
Ninth question. Who was the noble minister dismissed by the King Louis XVI?
The answer is Jacques Necker.
10th question. Who was the governor of the Bastille?
There is an answer from Mr. Sakirtan.
Tenth question.
Bernard René de Lune.
11th question. When did the Legislative Assembly elected?
Premant has answered as the second answer. Malini and Amaya, can you please repeat the answer?
The answer is in April 1792.
12th question. Who was arrested by a group of radical
The
revolutionaries
answer
and
is
when?
correct.
The answer is King Louis XVI in August 1792.
13th question. When was he sentenced to death?
The answer is on 21st January 1793.
14th question. Who is the wife of King Louis XVI?
There is an answer from Premanta. As the answer is he has mentioned the answer is number 2. Is it correct, Malini and Amaya?
The answer is Marie Antoinette.
15th and the final question. Who was the military leader led several successful campaigns during the Revolutionary Wars?
Asuni, there is answer from Asuni and Premanta. Both have answered as number 2. The answer is 2, the second answer. And there is another answer from Laknidu. Same, he is also answering as the second answer. And Ishara, same.
Yes,
Again,
the
the
answer
second
is
answer.
the second answer, Napoleon Bonaparte.
Fantastic.
That's all for the game today, everyone. Thank you for joining us with the game, and I hope you enjoy the game and you will enjoy the rest of the program.
Merci.
Thank you, Miss Malini and Amaya. And really sorry, guys, we couldn't name everyone who answered the question, but thank you for answering the questions. Now I would like to invite Mr. J.K. Vijayadasa, Executive Committee Member of Alliance Française de Kandy, to share a few words.
Okay. Bonsoir. Bonsoir. I am proud to have benefited from my knowledge of French. I became a member of the Alliance Française in Colombo in January 1964. That is 57 years ago. I don't know whether anybody who is around same seniority with Alliance Française. I got my diploma in 1966. First one, that's all I have got. The rest is all, as the French would call it, autodidacte. That means self-taught. And at that time, people who could speak French were a handful. So the French aviation industry invited me and gave me jobs. I had not the wildest dreams when I started learning French. I was a post office worker, doing what you call in French, there's an expression, trois vite. Trois means shift of 8 hours, 3 times a day. You call it trois vite. So I used to work night shifts and attend a class at Alliance Française meant for housewives from 11 to 12. And I had the privilege of having our former president, Madame Chandrika, also as a beginner with me. That was, then after that, having joined the aviation field, and first communications, and after that I became a cabin crew member, a purser who flew for over 2.5 years, and I've done everything in aviation except piloting. I've been cabin crew, accountant, sales rep, catering, so many things. So all these things help me to build up my language, and also the finer points, good and bad. I can scold and get scolded in French both. I can understand and give them back in the same. So, and the other thing I would like is there's nothing to worry about learning this language. When I started learning, people told me, what's the benefit you are going to get out of it? At that time, that's the time I told you, I had never dreamt of making use of it. So I said, no, I'm learning for pleasure. That's what I did. And learning it for pleasure is where you succeed. And I had no definite target, but then finally fate had it. I fell into the field of aviation, in which I worked for about 35 years in many countries overseas. And also my first trip to France was in 1968. The last was in 2018. In between, I may have gone there about 30 or 40 times because of the aviation industry. Not that I paid for any of the trips. I went because of it was aviation industry, you get the free tickets. I participated in conferences, reviewing seminars, all kinds of things. So as I would call it, there's an expression in French called "Je dois une fière chandelle à l'Alliance Française." That means I owe a lot to Alliance Française. If you have any questions to see whether I can help you and to guide you, please do not hesitate. Thank you. Hello. Hello. I'm done, but if you have any question from me, anything to ask, because you don't have much time there. Hello.
Hello.
I've finished, but in case you have any questions to ask me about any other experience, I'm willing to participate. Share.
Thank you, Mr. Vijayadasa, for sharing your experience with us.
Okay. One little thing I was also president of Alliance Française Kandy for 2 years, 2016, 2018.
That's really great, and thank you again,
Welcome.
Mr. Vijayadasa.
Bonne chance, bon courage for everybody. Huh?
Now let us move into another informative and fun segment with our very own teacher and staff of Alliance Française de Kandy. And let me invite our special guest, Mrs. Purnika, French teacher, Ms. Shemara, the course coordinator, and Mr. Sukirtan, French teacher, for a fun interview moderated by the class deputy of Students Committee 2021, Miss Aditya.
Good evening, everyone. I am Aditya, the class deputy of the Student Committee 2021 of Alliance Française de Kandy. I warmly welcome our three guests, Mrs. Purnika, Ms. Shemara, and Mr. Sukirtan for joining us today. Without further delay, let's begin the interview. My first question is for Mrs. Purnika. Can you tell us about an unforgettable experience you got when you were in France?
Okay. I would say like every stay in France, they have a lot of memories for me and all of them are unforgettable. But I thought I would select one today that's actually related to today's event also. So I thought I would actually just mention that. That was in 2 times. I was in France on the 14th of July. And I got the chance to see the French National Day celebrations that were held in the towns where I was studying at that time. But unfortunately, it wasn't in Paris. But even then, I enjoyed a lot because we've heard a lot about these celebrations, but never seen it. And the fireworks also very beautiful. In the evening, they have the fireworks in the town, and that is one very unforgettable event that I would have.
Okay, my next question is from Mr. Sukirtan. Can you describe something peculiar from the places you went?
Bonsoir à toutes et à tous. Good evening, everybody. So you asked me a question, something peculiar from the places I have visited in France. First of all, I would mention that I have visited France twice in 2015 and 16. So I have visited so many places in the Paris region, as well as in the other regions such as Brittany, Normandy, and the city of Lyon. So I have so many memories and extraordinary experiences from all the places I have visited. Especially, I enjoyed all the museums in Paris. For example, the Louvre and the Musée d'Orsay, Musée de Beaux-Arts et Métiers, and all other monuments as well. So when I was in that places, I could really connect myself to the places. I mean, I was very happy that I saw directly in France what I learned in the French classroom in Jaffna. For example, I learned about le pont Mirabeau, le Mirabeau Bridge. Sous la pont Mirabeau coule la Seine, et nos amours, faut-il qu'ils m'en souviennent? La joie venait toujours après la peine. And when I visited this bridge, Mirabeau, and I took a photo with that, and I felt it felt really great. And also, I have been to a monument called Le Pont d'Aillon, where I could visit the tombs of extraordinary French personalities like Victor Hugo, Émile Zola, Marie Curie, and Pierre Curie, Voltaire, the statue of Voltaire, and all these things. So voilà. So yeah, and all the places. I enjoyed everything, and it was very beautiful, great memory. That's all.
Okay, next question is from Ms. Shamara. What was the first feeling you had, or how did you feel when you first landed on France?
Okay, so first of all, bonjour, hello, and bonne fête nationale. So yes, to answer your question, it was in 2014 that I went there for the first time, and I was really, really excited because like Sukirtan was saying, you know, we have been learning French and we have seen the tower, food and cafes and all in books. So it was like I was going to see them live. So it's a bit hard to explain that, you know, I was super, super excited, not on the day I landed, but, you know, even before. So yes.
Okay, let's move to the next question, Mrs. Purnika. France is said to be a romantic country. So is there any places where it is specially depicted?
Okay, like for me, actually, I would say it is Paris. There are so many places that are really romantic, but especially like in summer when the town is enlightened, it's so beautiful and so romantic. And there are places specially visited by the lovers, like obviously and undoubtedly La Tour Eiffel, the Eiffel Tower, and the streets of Montmartre, Sacré-Cœur, and the gardens and the palaces like Luxembourg Palace and the Garden, Palace of Versailles. And I don't know, personally for me, walking along the river banks near the river Seine would be the most romantic experience that one would ever get, especially in summer evenings. It's so beautiful and so romantic. Yes, that's it.
Okay, next question is for Mr. Sukirtan. What is your first impression on gastronomy when you were in France?
My first impression, I was amazed with the variety of French foods. I was very happy to the bakers, la boulangerie pâtisserie, and greet them and to practice my French really with the real French person in the real context. That was very amazing experience. And for example, in Brittany, the buffet, I enjoyed so many times the buffet. I don't know how many items in the buffet, the charcuterie and all these things. Every time I walk to the railway station from my place where I stayed, I just stopped at the patisserie to buy une tarte de pomme, tarte de fraise or un flan, and I would eat it in a So I was really excited and amazed, and I was very happy to taste one of the best cuisines in the world. Yeah.
Okay, Miss Miss Chamara, can you comment on how you felt about French food?
About French food. Croissant was delicious for me. And then I tasted sandwich au poulet, chicken sandwich. That was nice too. And I remember, sandwich au fromage, but it was too hard to bite, so no. And then it's not that spicy enough for us, and then it's not that salty enough. So after a few days, like I missed rice and sambal. So yes, if not, it's nice just to taste and see how it tastes for real. So yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Purnika, can you briefly tell us about the relationship between the storming of Bastille and the French Revolution?
Okay. The storming of Bastille can be actually taken as one of the major events that led to the French Revolution, like just what we saw in your presentation. So like the success that the commoners had after storming the Bastille actually gave them the courage and the confidence to fight against the suppressing rule of the rulers at that time, the nobles. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Sukirtan, where do you think is the best place that represent art in France, and why do you think so?
So as I said earlier, I really wanted to be at Le Louvre. I think that's the best place that represents the art and culture. Because I enjoyed very much the sculptures, the photos, and all things. I took so many photos with all the statues, and I enjoyed really the beauty of the work of the sculpture. That's really phenomenal. And also I enjoyed the Musée d'Orsay. That's also very, very beautiful, with many statues, very beautiful statues, and also the photo exhibitions, painting exhibitions. Yeah, the two best places. Yeah, I can recommend.
Okay, Ms. Shamara, if you could briefly explain about the natural beauty of France and how friendly the French people are, how would you describe it?
Okay, so like in Sri Lanka, I think in different areas, each region in France also has its own beauty, and when it comes to Paris, like if I'm to give you some colors in my mind, like with what I have seen, I will go to more white, gray, black shades like that, and about people. It's like they're kind and nice, but certain experience might be nice, certain experience might not be, might not. It's like I remember once when we were taking the metro, we wanted to check which metro line we need to take. So when we went to them and we asked questions in French, because we want to practice our French with them. So when we asked questions, like they answered to us in English. Maybe they thought that we might not get and we'll be lost like. So anyway, they are really helpful. Then I was also in Colmar in Alsace, and that's like a countryside. So you get to see cottages, and it's like homely, But when it comes to Paris, you get all these busy souls, ladies in heels, TikTok, they go and they are on their phones. So not only women, men both. And it's like no one is there. If you're wearing something nice, like no one is there to check, okay, that's nice. So yeah. So that's what I can say about it.
Okay, Mrs. Purnika, according to you, what are the uniquenesses about the Louvre Museum?
That is the world's largest museum and the most visited museum, I suppose. Louvre Museum has all sorts of different types of pieces of art from all around the world. And I can remember the first time I went to Louvre. That was in 2002, actually, long time ago. And I was actually studying Greek and Roman civilization in the university. That is in our country. So when I actually saw those statues and the art, everything, I was almost in tears. But as Shemara said, like no one bothered to see that I was crying and all. But that's something like unforgettable, the feeling that you get in Louvre. So I would say that is really unique. That's a unique experience, just like what Sukirtan said, being inside Louvre. And I struggled so much to visit everything that is possible, but it took actually 2 days, but I couldn't finish it. And as we all know, Louvre is the home of Mona Lisa, the famous art of Da Vinci. And it's also unique, according to me, because of the glass pyramid. Though it is of modern architecture, it's so beautiful once you see it from outside. And even inside that, it's very beautiful.
Okay, Mr. Sukirtan, how did the storming of Bastille has influenced France and the rest of the world?
Hello, for this question, I don't know much, but I can say what I understood. I think the capture of the prison La Bastille led to the French Revolution in 1789, and it changed the modern politics across Europe and the world. And this capture of Bastille overturned also the long-lasting monarchical French monarchical government, and it introduced then the ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity, and also the human and civil rights to the modern politics. And it brings also the ordinary people have the power for a changeover in the monarchical or dictatorial politics. Yeah.
Okay, Miss Shamala, how do the French people celebrate the Bastille Day in France?
Okay, so it's as it is there in the word, it's a day of celebrations for them. And with what I have checked, what I have seen, it's like they have their military parade in the Champs-Élysées, and on the 14th of July, le 14 juillet. And I think the Air Force, like they have these smokes with colors of the French flag, the 3 colors, bleu, blanc, rouge. And I think Purnika was lucky enough to be there to celebrate it. I think twice you said, but unfortunately I have not seen it for real. But that's what I have, what I have learned and with what I have checked, the idea I can give to you all.
Okay, Mrs. Purnika, the last question for you. What advice do you have to give for the students who wish to go to France in future?
Okay. It's important that you improve all the competencies of the language. It's not simply learning to write. It's essential that you learn to speak, because once you are in France, you actually need to use it. You can communicate in English, yeah, but more advantages are there for you the moment you speak in French. And as we all know, it's essential that you get through your Delphi exams. Those are added qualifications and essential qualifications. And there are so many advantages and opportunities for you in universities in France. And be motivated and be dedicated. You can achieve it one day. Believe in your dreams, they do come true. Bonne chance.
Same question for Mr. Sukirtan. What advice do you have to give for the students who wish to go to France in future?
An advice, it's worth visiting France. France is $1 million destination, and Paris is one of the best, most visited city in the world. So it's also, from my point of view, it's very thrilling. You learn something or you teach in the classroom something, and you see directly in front. There's something else. So whether you have chance to get a scholarship for the higher studies or not, or just you can go to France as a tourist for a month or for 2 weeks. Yeah, it's worth. So hope for the best, and yeah, bonne chance.
Let's end the interview with the same last question for Ms. Shamara. What advice do you have to give for the students who wish to go to France in future?
Okay, so my advice, and I agree to the two teachers, Purnika and Sukirtan, with what they shared. So if you have the idea, like it could be for your studies, it could be for, just a visit, just have it in mind. If you really want to make it come true, work hard for it. And yeah, if it's just for a visit, when you can, you do it, because it could be like a once in a lifetime experience. Who knows? Now it's this pandemic and it's not that easy, to travel. So when you can, you try to make it come true. And if it's for your studies, now like Soline explained a while ago, you have the streams in English, in French. So, and it's quite important, like, to know the basics at least to survive there. But then again, if you're a student who is studying French, please continue and try to make your dream come true. It's not that far, I guess. And if you want any guidance, like Campus France is there, we are there to help you all. So yeah, try keep your goal in mind and work hard for it. Okay, and bonne chance, yes.
I hope you all enjoyed the interview. We are so happy to have you three with us, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was a very fun interview. I would like to give our sincere thanks to Mrs. Purnika, Ms. Shamara, and Mr. Sukirtan for spending their time with us on this special evening. It was a great pleasure having you three with us, and also thank you, Aditya. It was a great interview. Now I would like to invite the Director of Alliance Française de Kandy, Mrs. Shara Tukas, to share a few words with us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this invitation. I would like to congratulate the Students' Committee for organizing this event. Having an online fireworks was a true challenge, and it was met admirably. Thank you to all the participants for sharing their personal and career story. Thank you, Purnika, Sukirtan, and Shemara. I'm very proud to be working with you, teachers and course coordinator. Thank you to Mr. Vijayadasa as well, who is one of the current executive committee member and previous president of AFK's committee. What I can share with you is that all along this event, I was very impressed by the ability of the Students' Committee to bring together past history and present stories. This is a great way to integrate and to move forward. And these are two skills that are absolutely necessary in the learning process. So congratulations again. A happy Bastille Day to you all. Take ownership of your life, as Purnika suggested. This is a great advice, and it's a very interesting conclusion for this Bastille Day celebration.
Thank you, Madam. It was an honor having you with us. Now we have come to the end of this event, and I would like to invite the Assistant Treasurer of the Students' Committee 2021, Ms. Madhushi, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Bonjour à tous. I am Madhushi, the Assistant Treasurer of the Student Committee 2021 of Alliance Française de Kandy. First of all, I would like to give a special thanks to the Director of Alliance Française de Kandy, Mrs. Shara Tukas, for her presence in this special evening, which made it special. I would also like to thank Ms. Soline, the Campus France representative in Sri Lanka, for taking her time for a great informative presentation on Campus France. I would like to thank the Executive Committee members, staff, and teachers of Alliance Française de Kandy for their presence. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the teachers of Alliance Française de Kandy, Mrs. Purnika, Ms. Shamara, Mr. Sikirtan for spending their time with us on their busy schedule and for their insightful words. I would like to thank the cultural coordinator, Ms. Ivana, for her constant guidance in order to make this event a success. I would also like to thank my fellow Student Committee 2021 of Alliance Française de Kandy members for their huge efforts to make this event a success. Last but not least, I would like to thank each and everyone for spending your evening with us and for celebrating Bastille Day with us. You all are fantastic audience. On behalf of the Student Committee 2021 of Alliance Française de Kandy, I would like to thank you all for their participation. Merci beaucoup. Bonsoir.
Thank you, Madhushi. Thank you everyone once again for joining us tonight. Hope you all have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Bonne soirée.
Merci, bonsoir.
Merci beaucoup. Bonsoir.
Si, bonsoir. Bonsoir.
Merci beaucoup. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir, merci.